The Afanc is a monster that lives in Llyn, which could be Bala Lake, and caused a huge flood. A Dwyfan and Dwyfach feature in a flood legend from the Welsh Triads. The Triads comprise of the Black Book of Carmarthen, the White Book of Rhydderch, and the Red Book of Hergest. Dwyfan and Dwyfach were the sole human survivors, escaping in a mastless boat. They constructed an ark-like vessel named Neviv Nephlion, which was to carry a pair of each species. Thus Prydian, Britain, was repopulated by this pair. Comparisons have been made with Noah. For the Bible, it was the wrath of God. In the Welsh flood story, it caused a terrible monster. The figure of Dwyfach is identified with a small Dwyfach river which enters Cardigan Bay near Porthmadog, while Dwyfan is associated with the river it enters, the Dwyfor. A lake monster from Welsh mythology, the Afanc, can be traced through references in British and Celtic folklore, sometimes taking the form of a crocodile, giant beaver or dwarf. It's also said to be a demonic creature. The Afanc is said to attack and devour anyone who enters its waters. Several other sites beside Llyn lay claim to its dominion. Amongst them are Llyn Barfog, Tywyn, and Llyn Afanc, the Afanc Pool, a lake in Betws-y-Coed. Iolo Morganwy popularised a version of the myth and he gardens two long-horned oxen drag the Afanc from the lake, enable it to be killed. An earlier version of this has the oxen cart cast the Afanc into Llyn Llas, the Lake of the Blue Fountain, where it was able to breach its rocky banks to escape. One story has a maiden who tamed the Afanc by letting it sleep in a lap, which allowed her fellow villagers to capture it. When the Afanc woke, its struggles crushed the maiden. Later legends had King Arthur or Peredur slaying the monster. Near Lake Barfog is a rock with a hoof print carved into it, along with the words "Card Mark Arthur," stone of Arthur's horse, supposedly made when his steed, Clamrai, dragged the Afanc from the deep. Glaslyn in Awyddfa was the final resting place of an Afanc, which had plagued the people of the Conway Valley. They tempted the monster out of the water with a young girl before securing it with chains and dragging it to Glaslyn. A large stone known as Maen Dŵr Addiw, below Clogwyn Dŵr Addiw, is supposed to have magical powers. In common with other sites in Wales, it's said that if two people spend the night there, one will become a great poet, while the other will become insane. Gwragedd Annwn, alternatively known Dames of the Lower Region, Dames of Elfin Land, or Wives of the Lower World, are beautiful female fairies who live beneath lakes and rivers found in Welsh folklore. The mythological narrative of Gwragedd Annwn is intertwined with the origins of the Welsh black cat. According to folklore, these supernatural maidens were said to live beneath certain lakes, notably Llyn Barfog in Gwynedd and Crumlin Lake, located near Britain Ferry. The Gwragedd Annwn can only be found near Wrexham rivers and are said to live in the ocean, another factor which sets them apart from other aquatic fairy or mermaid-like creatures. The Gwragedd Annwn dress in green. They appear to be not only the only type of fairy capable of crossing from the lower world, led by the fairy king Gwyn ap Nudd, to the upper world, where regular human beings dwell. They are most likely to be in lakes in isolated or mountainous areas. In Welsh myth, the Gwragedd Annwn was said to herd cattle. These cattle were special and had a coat of pure white. They were known as the Gwragedd Annwn. At some point, myth holds that a farmer caught one of these pure white cows, and it provided him with butter, milk and cheese of the highest quality. So excellent was the milk provided by this cow that the farmer became rich. In some variations of the legend, the milk from this mystical cow could heal injuries, make a person more intelligent, and put anyone in a cheerful mood. Having other cattle descended from the cow, the farmer decided to fatten the cow up for slaughter. When the butcher tried to bludgeon the cow, the instrument passed through her head and did nothing. Suddenly angered, the farmer had attempted to slaughter the cow. A woman in green, one of the Gwragedd Annwn, culled the cow and all her offspring away except for one, which had turned a jet black. That is how the Welsh black cattle came to be. Villagers from Llangernyw, midway between Beddgelert and Rhos, learn their grim fate from a spirit under the boughs of an ancient yew tree. Each year on Halloween and the 31st of July, the Angelystor spirit is said to appear in the medieval church of St Diganes in Llangernyw. On those dates, it solemnly announces in Welsh the names of the parish members who will die shortly afterwards. According to folklore, one Halloween, a tailor called Llyn Barfog scorned the idea of the Angelystor whilst drinking in a local pub. His fellow drinkers challenged him to visit the church to prove the story groundless. Taking up the challenge, Ap Robert made his way to the church, but when he arrived at the door, he heard a deep voice from within reciting names, and the first name he heard was his own. Hold on, he cried, I'm not ready yet." But ready or not, he died later that year. The church of Llangernyw is centuries old, but the site it stands on was sacred thousands of years before it was built. The yew tree, which botanists believe to be between 4,000 and 5,000 years old. The tree is fragmented and its core part has been lost, leaving several enormous offshoots. The girth of the tree at the ground is 10.75 metres. Elsewhere in the churchyard are two standing stones, which would have been raised up at about the same time. The Mawddach Estuary at Barmouth may be home to a sea monster. In 1805, near the Menai Straits, a ship reported an encounter with a large sea serpent. The serpent was reported to have wrapped itself around the ship's mast. The creature stayed there until the ship's crew attacked it. The serpent fell back into the water and reportedly stalked the ship for another 2 days before giving up and leaving. Another sighting was recorded in 1882, according to a letter from Nature magazine. About 3 p.m. on Sunday, September the 3rd, 1882, a party of gentlemen and ladies were standing at the northern extremity of Llandudno Pier, looking towards the open sea, when an unusual object was observed in the water near to the Little Orme's Head, travelling rapidly westwards towards the Great Orme. It appeared to be just outside the mouth of the bay, and would therefore be about a mile distant from the observers. It was watched for about 2 minutes, and in that interval it traversed about half the width of the bay, and then suddenly disappeared. The bay is 2 metres wide, and therefore an object, whatever it was, must have travelled at a rate of 30 miles an hour. It's estimated to have been fully as long as a large steamer, say 200 feet. The rapidity of its motion was particularly remarked on, as being greater than that of any ordinary vessel. The colour appeared to be black, and the motion either corkscrew-like or snake-like, with virtual undulations. Three of the observers have since made sketches from memory, quite independently, of the impressions left on their mind, and on comparing these sketches, which slightly varied, they've agreed to sanction the accompanying outline as representing as nearly as possible the object which they saw. In 1937, a crocodile-like animal was witnessed by a harlequin as it walked along the riverbank. On the 2nd of March 1976, 6 schoolgirls described a creature they saw in broad daylight. It had a long neck and square face, and a long tail with a flipper at the back, and its skin was black and patchy. Brenin Llwyd, the Grey King. Legends are found across Wales with only minimal variations. Stories about Brenin Llwyd, the Grey King or Monarch of the Mist, were told in the most mountainous districts. In the north, he's described as being very mighty and powerful. He was represented as sitting amongst the mountains, robed in grey clouds and mist, and woe to anybody who was caught in his clutches. Snowdon and the ranges of Cerrig-y-drudion, Plynlimon and other lofty places were his favourite haunts. In the south he was regarded as hungering for victims and children that were warned to venture not too high up the mountains, lest Brenin Llwyd should seize them. Marie Trevelyan, 1909. As with other Welsh legends, aspects of the Brenin Llwyd myth have been linked to the Gawain and the Green Knight. The old Welsh tale of Father Plynlimon and his 3 daughters, Tair Plynlimon, it tells of the eldest Hafren or 7, the most beautiful, a Gwai or Y, and the youngest and most headstrong, Rydal. Cum Annwn are the spectral hounds of Annwn, the other world of Welsh myth. They are associated with the form of the wild hunt, presided over either by Arwyn, king of Annwn, or Fuwch Penvig, Dyfed, the first branch of the Mabinogion, and alluded to in the Mathfab, Mathonwy, the 4th branch of the Mabinogion, or Gwynap Neath, as the underworld king and king of the fairy folk, is named in later medieval lore. The hunting grounds for Cum Annwn are said to be the mountains of Cerrig-y-drudion, which is believed to the howling of these huge dogs foretold death to anyone who heard them. According to Welsh folklore, their growling is loudest when they're at a distance, and as they draw nearer it grows softer and softer. Their coming is generally seen as a death portent. Dormarch is a hound normally used to assist hunters in chasing the animal being hunted. However, in Welsh mythology, the Dormarch master is Gwynap Neath, although formerly owned by Gwynedd, a 6th century knight of Gwynedd. As king of the Talthwyth Teig, or fairy folk, Gwynap Neath was ruler of Annwn, and as such he is closely associated with the wild hunt, where he is responsible for escorting newly deceased souls of British warriors from the battleground to the afterlife. Dormarch has a single head, 2 front legs, and a body that narrows rapidly from the chest and terminates in 3 fish-like tails. The Dormarch's natural habitat is described in Welsh as being a wabia, that is riding on the clouds which haunt the mountain peaks. Cath Palug, Palug's cat, is a monstrous cat in Welsh mythology, associated with Arthurian legend. Outside of Wales, the cat's opponent has been transposed to King Arthur himself. Cath Palug's name in Welsh literature is Chapalaw. Cath Palug is always found near water, such as lakes of Lac du Bourget and Lac Geneva in France, and the sea in Wales. One story describes it as a sort of fish cat. Cath Palug's birth origins are in the powerful swineherds in the Welsh Triads. According to this source, it started life as a kitten, given birth by a great white sow, Henwen of Cornwall, at the Black Rock in Llanfair, Gwynedd. There was a kitten, there the kitten was cast into the sea, but crossed the Menai Strait and was found on Ynys Môn, where the Palug raised it, not realising the cat was to become one of the 3 great plagues of the island. Cath Palug was found slain by the Cai, or so it's implied, in the incomplete Welsh poem Pagia af a Porthar, found in the Black Book of Carnarvon. Cai has gone on to destroy Clowen, possibly meaning lions in Ynys Môn. In the encounter, scores of warriors have been killed by the cat. When Fad Felen, the Yellow Plague, came to Wales in the 1540s CE, it took the form of a column of watery cloud, one end on the ground and the other high in the air. Any living creature caught in the pestiferous pillar died or sickened to death. It was called the Yellow Pestilence because of its livid, bloodless complexion of those stricken by it. Those physicians who tried to cure the afflicted themselves took ill and died. Taliesin prophesied the death of Maelgwn Gwynedd, King of North Wales, a strange creature from the marsh of Rhianedd, to punish the crimes of Maelgwn Gwynedd. Its hair, its teeth and its eyes are yellow, and this will destroy Gwynedd. The same manifestation of Fad Felen was perhaps the hideous hag with baleful eyes, in the same way as the ague is referred to as the Rhach or Henrach. Other accounts speak of a basilisk. The poet Rhys Teganwy mentions a scaly monster with claws and pestiferous breath. And Maelgwn Gwynedd saw the Fad Felen through the keyhole of Rhos Church and died as a result, presumably a poetic way of saying that he died of the plague in the church. Fuwch Frech is a cow in Welsh folklore. A story from Denbighshire of a cow that was said to give the milk to anyone in want of milk until a witch milked the cow dry. The cow was then left, plunging into a lake near Cerrig-y-drudion, and leading her 2 children longhorned oxen, which are themselves subject of legends after her. Folklorist Elias Owen also quoted an earlier author on the matter of the Fuwch Frech. This author translated it as a dun cow and wrote that a bone said to belong to it was found in Gwyllgi near Llangernyw. Regular viewers will be aware of the white cow of Mitchell's Fold in my native Shropshire. The Gwyllgi is a mythical dog from Wales and appears as a frightful apparition of a mastiff or black wolf, similar to a dire wolf, with a baleful breath and blazing red eyes. In the Welsh incarnation of the black dog of English folklore, there are many sightings of this beast in the Nant y Garth Pass in Denbighshire. It's even been spotted as far away as Marksfield in Wrexham, and to this day there are still many sightings of this fearsome creature. In the Wrexham area in the 18th century, there were reports of a giant wolf-like beast attacking stagecoaches, houses and cows. Local attempts to hunt the beast were in vain, but footprints far larger than those of a wolf were uncovered. Gelert is the legendary hound associated with the village of Beddgelert in Gwynedd in North West Wales, the name of which was formerly believed to mean Gelert's grave. In the legend, Llewellyn the Great returns from hunting to find his baby missing, the cradle overturned, and Gelert with his blood-smeared mouth. Believing the dog to have devoured the child, Llewellyn draws his sword and kills Gelert. After the dog's dying yelp, Llewellyn hears a cry of the baby, unharmed under the cradle along with a dead wolf, which had attacked the child but had been killed by Gelert. Llewellyn is overcome with remorse and buries the dog with great ceremony, then leading to the town's name, but can still hear its dying yelp. After that date, Llewellyn never smiles again. Most likely, the village of Beddgelert took its name from an early saint named Gelert or Gelert, rather than from a dog. The grave's mound is accredited to David Pritchard, a landlord of the Goat Hotel in Beddgelert in the late 18th century, who connected the legend to the village to encourage its tourism. Indeed, the story probably came from similar legends known around the world. I heard from Turkey, but have been unable to trace this. Certainly in India, there's a similar story of a mongoose, and in Malaysia of the bear. Having said that, Beddgelert is a beautiful village and well worth visiting. A ghostly person connected with the lake and the house of Glasryn above Festiniog. One story is to the effect that on a certain evening she forgot to close the well, Fyn Grassi, and that when the gushing waters had formed the lake, poor Grassi, overcome with remorse, wandered up and down and high along Caer Lladdi, moaning and weeping. There, in fact, she is still to be heard lamenting her fate, especially at 2 o'clock in the early morning. Some people say that she's also to be seen about the lake, but on the whole her visit appears to have been more frequent and troublesome at the house itself. She appears as a tall lady with well-marked features and large bright eyes, dressed in white silk and white velvet bonnet. In a different story, when the water broke forth to form in Glasryn, the fairies seized Grassi and changed her into a swan, and that she continued in that form to live on the lake 60 years, and that when at length she died, she loudly lamented her lot. That cry is still to be heard at night.